Hey, I'm moving today. I'm feeling good. It is another edition of the Exciting Whites podcast here. My name is David, and I'm here with
Kaylin.
And we're going to talk about wine and everything else that's on the table. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I feel good today.
Yeah?
I don't know. I've been doing this new diet that I've been on for the new year, new me. And so I've gained 2 pounds since I've been on it. It's pretty great.
Oh, no.
So it's going well. I feel like maybe that I had so much during the New Year's time, much food and drink and wine, of course.
Yeah.
And I might have just overdone it. And so now my body's got to it's been going down the one-way street for so long. It's got to go and figure out how to put on the brakes and then kind of turn itself back around.
Well, we're about to make it worse by drinking
All right.
this delicious Gekkeikan Sake.
Gekkeikan.
I think
Gekkeikan?
that's Gekkeikan.
Sounds like a bad guy.
I don't know how to pronounce it. I should have looked it up beforehand, honestly. That would have been the responsible thing to do. But
Smoke
anyway,
in the forest, Wonder Twins unite. Gekkeikan comes from behind.
Yeah.
Or it's like a big, like Godzilla's brother from, or it's probably a province. Tell us about it. What is it really? None of those things.
It's none of those things. And this is something we were going to discuss, but then we didn't.
Yeah.
Is sake actually white wine?
Yes.
I think it is. It's white and it's wine.
Rice wine, and rice is white.
So it's white wine.
It makes a white wine.
Yes.
But yeah, sake is, so we're drinking it room temp or cold, excuse me. They say to boil it or put it. We are aware that we are Americanizing this, but if you can imagine
drinking it in a wine glass and drinking it cold from the refrigerator, yes.
If you can imagine her in like a 1950s sort of Hollywood actress, holding the cigarello.
With the long holder.
And then having the wine, and then me in like a Hugh Hefner robe, with the full lapels and that is how we approach wine. Just to be fair, in the spirit of fairness, we enjoy all wine. We enjoy learning about it. We don't claim to be experts.
We're not.
So we keep the sake cold, and I think that's the best way to have it. Not lukewarm like the urine of a bum that's squirted into my mouth at all the hibachi places.
I don't love it.
They go bzzz at the hibachi place, right into your mouth. And if you're willing to accept it, people will cheer you on in binge drinking before your food is done, which I enjoy.
I've been there with you.
Yeah,
you go like 20, 30 seconds until they're like, oh, okay, and they stop.
Like I just keep swallowing it, kind of like Kenny G's Endless Note on the sax.
Yeah. Circular breathing.
I circular swallow the sake as he just keeps. So then the guy is like, the chef is finally looking back at me. He's just like.
They're just.
Like everybody starts to get uncomfortable. Like, am I drowning this individual? And you're just like people are like, all right. Like other people I would go with in the past, not you. Other people,
like, yee!
You're like go. Like we're at a college frat party. Other people I've been with are like, maybe that's enough. Maybe you should calm it down with the sake, Yeah. And I'm like, bring on the steak, Anyway.
That's accurate.
So
Gekkeikan Sake is brewed in the USA. Yeah. According to the process originated by Gekkeikan Sake in Japan in 1637. So it's the same sake process.
Now that I read it, it says brewed in the USA.
Yes.
So real quick, I hate to interject, but having read that after you said it, it says brewed.
Yeah.
Like a beer.
Yeah.
Because it's a fermented rice. Mm-hmm. So maybe that.
It's not pressed like wine.
Right.
Like
although wine ages, that's part of its.
But this is brewed, and I think that's why you can drink it hot as well. Supposedly,
it doesn't need to be refrigerated because it's brewed.
Yeah. Well, neither does regular wine. They sell it on the shelves.
We should probably know about that. Whether or not brewing
Listen, we're just talking about the wine. We're not talking about it as people informing other people, really.
Clear that up right from the start.
Right. I mean, we are informing you, but we're also maybe just like
Imagine that everyone is envisioning you wearing a 1957 starlet robe standing out on the terrace.
I need to
in
buy
California
one. I
with
was literally looking for.
So they're not coming to you for
Amazon.
expertise because that is the picture I put as I'm telling you. Also wearing the Hugh Hefner robe with no shirt on underneath.
Well, no. Why would you wear a shirt?
Possibly a gold chain. Welcome to my home.
Oh,
Want to see my little friend?
that's what I was getting from that. That's nice.
I don't know why I'm Hispanic, but it's like my inner Scarface.
Yeah. Gekkeikan has a subtle flavor which adds character to any drink. Gekkeikan is produced and bottled in Folsom, California, and has an alcohol content of 15.6%.
This is going to be an interesting show.
Yeah.
Folsom, California,
Yeah.
home of the Folsom County Prison, where
The Bones are their money. And,
the famous
and also the
Johnny
worms.
Cash played
So are
at
the
the
worms.
Folsom prison there, and that was one of his. Anyway, this is weird. If you had handed me this bottle of sake and looking at the front of it, traditional-looking Japanese on the front of it, I would have said, "Well, that's been flown over." But as I think about it, it may be that it doesn't keep. And so that's why they sell a brewed sake here. Let us know in the comments.
Yeah,
we
do
don't
you know? Because we
don't really know jack about sake enough to know.
We're just drinking it.
Yeah, I mean, I love it, but I don't know enough about it. I watch a lot of One Piece, which makes me want to drink sake all the time. But anyway, the fact that it's made in the USA, I wouldn't have guessed that by looking at the bottle. So they did a good job, cleverly, of making us believe that we were picking up something international, even though it's from an international company. So, are you a loved one you know?
Suffering from COPD.
Well, that is a leap.
I don't know. Just the way that you phrased that sounded like a commercial.
Is it your money and you want it now?
Call J.G. Wentworth.
Wow. Yeah, we'll bleep that out. Can't say company names, I think, without an official sponsorship.
No, you can. You just say we're not sponsored by them.
This past weekend / early this week, we were talking. Hold on. Before I do this, I got to say, this is our first show of the new year. So happy 2024. I want to say shout out to our engineer, Kevin. Kevin, hi.
Hello.
Did you have a good new year?
I did.
And I know you did because we all celebrated
We
it
all
together.
celebrated together. Yeah.
We did,
We were
yes.
together.
We were together. It was good. And I'm glad that you had a good one. New Year's Day was pretty relaxing anyway. So, Kaylin and I were in a conversation over the past weekend about her condo complex.
Oh, yeah.
And in particular, the reason that we were discussing this was because there is at the complex, there is a pool and pool house and a hot tub area.
I think I can explain since I live there.
Okay.
I feel like I can be a little bit more.
Do you want me to kick this off?
Sure,
before you-
go ahead.
before
Go
you-
ahead.
So the idea behind this whole topic is that in this area there are these kind of lights that go all around. They're night lighting for utilizing the area in the evening. But the management or the HOA or whatever of the complex locks everything up at the end of October. So you can't use the hot tub or the pool anymore.
Right, they're totally covered.
There's an outdoor seating area with a fire pit that is like gas, like a gas log, and then there's a grill that's kind of off to one side. Do you want to set? You want to do more stage setting there, or?
Sure. Well, the fire pit is just gas. Like there's no log on it. It's just you can sit outside.
Like a Yule log?
Yeah, but
not that you think I have a log.
They've removed it appears that they've removed the cushioning from the chairs and everything out there because it can't withstand the Michigan winter weather, the snow and such. And there are actually 2 grills outside. It's all in this fenced-in area, so you have to have, a key to the condo association clubhouse in order to get in. Totally fine.
Right.
So I inquired because where my condo is situated is right next to the pool, which is amazing in the summertime because I can just look out and it looks like I live in a resort and I can just live my best life. In the winter, however, everything is totally covered over. Everything just looks snowy. The lights, though, for the pool area are just blasting.
On 24/7.
Yeah, on 24/7,
Right.
and they're blasting into my bedroom. So I
And
do
it's
have
very bright.
blackout
I've seen it.
curtains, but some light still gets through the top and everything, and I like pitch black. So I called over to the HOA and I said, is there any reason that we have to have these lights on all the time? Because nobody's swimming, and like you can't really fall into the pool because these tarps that they have placed across them are very thick and strong. Apparently an elephant can cross over them, and this is what I was told anyway, an literal elephant can cross over them and they won't fall in. I was like, oh, so if it's not for a safety purpose, can we turn off those lights? No, because the facilities, the grill and the fire facilities, are available to all residents 24/7 at all times, all through the year. And I said, okay, I understand the fire, but also not really, because you'd have to like walk down there,
so the
walk
idea
outside,
is
get the
that
fire
they
going.
can't turn the lights off, or they refuse to, even though they're on a timer, because they turn off during the day.
Because they turn off during the day.
So they could reprogram them, but they won't, because
they won't.
they want them left up. And understand that we live in Michigan.
In case somebody uses the grill in the middle of a snowstorm at 3 a.m. in Michigan.
To play devil's advocate, it doesn't snowstorm every night.
No, but it's frigid almost every night.
It is cold every night. And I would think that if they agreed to have them turn off by midnight or 1 a.m., I know of your area and where you live, and I know that they prize quiet as one of the key things. So one thing that I always thought was weird is wherever the hot tub and pool is, I mean, we can hear people out there. Mm-hmm. I've been at your house late. At 1, 2 in the morning, people are yelling and screaming in the summer out there, and they never seem to want to police that. Why wouldn't you in the wintertime, when people spend more time indoors, possibly go to bed earlier or whatever, or more people than ever after COVID work at home, like why wouldn't they want to kind of control the hours that people are out there? So now it's a safety thing, right?
I was told we need to be considerate of people who work second or third shift, who are used to being up in the middle of the night and might want to, cook a rack of ribs at 3 or 4 a.m.
But that's the thing. I mean, when you live in an area, like your particular complex has a shared wall, so like you're not going to start playing drums at 3 a.m. knowing that there's people next to you,
right?
Versus where I was at home. If I lived alone in my house and I want to play drums, I'll be honest, even in my neighborhood, if I was to play drums at 3 a.m, I still probably would rouse someone.
Probably.
I don't
unless
play
you
drums
did it in
at
your
home,
basement. Well, your basement is open, I suppose.
I still think that it would be heard, or it would be enough of a disturbance. So the point I'm trying to make is, so their whole thing is like, well, we don't want to limit freedoms of our residents. We don't want to limit, anything that has to do with their use of the area, even though that's exactly what HOAs are designed for, is to limit and control and moderate. But what I don't understand is like the grilling part. So someone's going to come down from their condo.
Really wants to grill at 3 a.m.
3 a.m. and they're going to hook up a ribeye, and then they're going to invite a bunch of friends out to the,
they might trip and fall on
10
the grill.
degree night temperature ambient to sit down at the fire pit and enjoy some cookouts in the night. You have to
keep the lights on, blasting
logically,
into the buildings,
logically it's illogical, right? It doesn't make any sense, like for that.
It's for safety.
Well, the question I would have is, does anybody grill that's not using the pool or the clubhouse?
So far,
anyways?
I have seen exactly 0 people grilling.
She did tell me she's never seen anyone grilling.
I've seen people grilling in the summer. I've seen 4 people grill in the summer. I've seen 0 people grill after the summer.
Yeah, because I could see like being by the pool and like making a hot dog or something if you're going to hang out there. Like I could see that.
The lights, I think, are on in the summertime late for a reason. So they promote the usage of it at night, and they don't want to limit guests to not being able to residents.
And they don't want people to fall in when they are out there, because the pool, clubhouse, and
even though an elephant could walk
open.
Across it.
No, not when it's covered. In the summer, it's not covered.
Yeah, I understand the summer, though. What I'm saying is, the idea is that they want to keep the lights on, and they have their reasons, whatever. The underlying question here is, and I think a lot of people, or a lot of us, and these, of course, I'm going to predicate all this by saying this is first world complaints, I think. Lighting at night
Yeah.
That's,
Light is
disturbing.
coming
This
into my
lighting is
window.
just too much.
Can't handle it.
Someone down there grilling in the night, I
Someone
twitch
down
the
there
curtain
not
to look over
grilling
and
in
see
the
it.
night. Curtain twitcher.
Curtain twitcher. The point is though is these things are put in place, right? That are laws or that are rules or that are things because the world no longer has common sense anymore.
Sure.
Do you ever feel like you go someplace and you feel like something is obvious to you, but there's a sticker that says like,
Don't drink the bleach.
yeah, don't lick this, or like, don't put this in your butt, or like, don't, and like that's going on a lot more. I saw a meme the other day that said, people, and this goes to our next topic too, but people in the 1950s were asked to tell their predictions of what the life would be like in 2023, 2024, the future. And like, people thought we'd have flying cars and all this stuff, and we'd be living on the moon or whatever. Meanwhile, and then about below the mean, it's like a sticker that says, "Don't insert in rectum," and it's like a bottle of Clorox, and it's like, what the, like that is the sign of the times. But like, is it because kids? Did it start with eating Tide Pods?
No.
That we had to have like, or is it Sue Happy culture that started in the 80s?
Sue Happy culture that started in the 80s with people like needing to put on their coffee that it's hot driving through the McDonald's drive-thru.
That lady though at McDonald's, grandma was she was badly burned. You know that story, right? Mm-hmm. That one is the kind of the one of all of the ones besides like the thumb in the Wendy's chili that happened. Did you hear about that?
That's sick.
I guess in the Chili's,
go.
they got a thumb, like they were eating, and all of a sudden a human thumb was in there.
Was in it.
And a guy was chopping. I guess he'd come to, as I understand it, he was a meth head. So he'd come to work, and he was doing prep, and just lobbed it off. And he was so high, he put a Band-Aid on it, and he meant to go back into the pot and get it later, but forgot. And then it just marinated all day in the
mistakenly chopped my thumb off
in the warm Angus beef juices of the Wendy's chili, and then was served up with cheese and onions to a constituent who then settled for like $18 million in damages, I think, or something like that. Pretty crazy. That one happened in Michigan too.
Can you imagine losing your thumb and
That's
someone
some
else
Florida
gets
grade
$18
stuff.
million?
You lose your thumb and someone else gets $18 million. If that isn't a Charlie bucket, I don't know what is. You know what I mean? Cheer up, Charlie. Things will come your way.
My mom found teeth in a sub. In a submarine sandwich, and back in the 90s, and she reported it, and they said, "Oh my gosh, are you going to sue us?" And she's like, "No, I'm not going to sue. It's fine."
What? What company? You don't want to say? We've said all of them already.
I have?
I mean, we've said all different companies. I
well,
said
this
Wendy's.
one wasn't a thing. She didn't put it. It's not public record or whatever.
No, but I mean, what place? Oh, that's a local.
Yeah, that's why I was like, it's fine.
So what? Find teeth in it. How the heck?
Because they were.
Like
because then they called back and they were baby human teeth.
How were they in there?
In the meatball sub.
Like they were. So what you're insinuating is the meat that might have been used in this was ground up people? Whoa. That took a real
and I was like,
dark turn there.
Why didn't you sue for that? Once you found out about that, why didn't you sue and like find out like what's going on with that?
That is
like what's that?
Holy cow!
You know, like that could have been like a crime. Definitely sounds like a crime.
Like a mob
or maybe it's just somebody dumped the tooth fairy just dropped by and they're like, "Oopsie!" and like dumped their teeth in the meat
in the middle of a pizza kitchen.
Yep.
Yeah, that seems plausible.
Yeah,
it seems super plausible. But like, you might want to think of the positive before you think of murdering children.
What is the weirdest thing that you've ever pulled out of your own food?
Oh, one time. I was eating yogurt, and I was like 3, and it was real crunchy, and I told my mom, and I was like, I don't like this crunchy yogurt, and she's like, oh, what? And she looked at it, and there were like beetles in it.
How? What? Did your family live outside? Were you like Swiss Family Robinson?
No,
the
like
yogurt's got beetles
I
again.
thought they were blueberries, because you know how like black blueberries are in the yogurt.
Is
And I was just eating and they were crunchy, and
Was this when
I
you
ate
guys
some
were
beetles.
missionaries in Guam? Like what? Where?
No.
What the heck are?
Just regular Yoplait yogurt.
Regular Yoplait, just fresh open out of the fridge, and it was filled with beetles.
I mean, they were mixed in through.
I gotta be honest. First, your mom finds human baby teeth in a sub. Then your childhood is filled with cracking open yogurts that are crunchy. You don't even think it's blueberry, and it's beetles. This sounds like some horror movie grade happenstance
It
here.
was not.
Come on,
I remember
come
they
clean.
didn't have really a flavor. It was just crunch.
I'm not asking about the beetles. I'm asking about the how, what, and frickin' why, either about the home refrigeration that you grew up with.
No, it was just a
Or
new
the lack
Yoplait.
thereof.
A new
We want to know
Yoplait.
about the beetles.
Open it and-
I mean, and your parents didn't contact an attorney about a yogurt full of beetle
My
bugs?
parents don't believe in suing.
It's not about believing it. It's
This is
about
about
at least
bugs
getting a
getting in your
new
food.
case of yogurt. My mom one time
They don't believe in suing.
we got Crystal Pepsi. I grew up in the Detroit area, just like you did. And, you didn't.
I
but-
did not. No.
We had Crystal Pepsi in our area. It was a test. And my mom would buy it all the time because we loved it. And I still wish, sidebar asterisk, that it would come back. Anyway, Pepsi,
Bring it back.
bring it back, please. I make a zero version. But if not,
yeah,
I'll
zero.
have it both ways. Anyway, my mom got a Crystal Pepsi. And I guess it had come open and shipping. So she bought a case of it in cans. And one case of it had come out and then had gone underneath all the other ones and had calcified. So what happened is it got hard. The sugar got hard, and when they set the case down for shipping, it put pinholes in all of the other cans. So she brought it home, and you know how, like, have you ever left a can of anything outside and super cold and it like loses its
Goes
carbonation? It basically it explodes in some way through some hole, some pressure point. This happened for all 12 cans. And so my mom wrote Pepsi, and we got free Pepsi for like a year.
Nice.
And I'm saying you're talking about a 12 pack that had nothing in it. And at the time that it might have been $4. You're finding human teeth and do nothing as a family. You find beetles in a corporate brand yogurt and do nothing.
Listen, this wasn't my choice to do nothing.
This is negligence on a different kind of level.
This is not my choice to do nothing.
It's like your parents decided to just embrace.
It is what it is.
These things. I'm not part of a Sue Happy culture, but when something lands in your lap like that,
motto is it is what it is.
common sense is not serving beetle bugs in yogurt. Okay,
Well, for sure.
that happens.
Yeah.
Like thumbs and chili grade. Baby teeth in a submarine sandwich. There is a reason to bring that stuff up, because whatever practices are allowing, if these stories are true, whatever practices are allowing that to continue need to be. As soon as a company is forced to pay a settlement for something, you better believe they're going to look into why, if they're staying in business, what happened.
Yeah. I still want to know about those teeth.
Yeah, well, you'll never know now because your
never
parents
know.
decided to just leave it go.
Yeah.
They'll fix it in post, you know?
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
Well, anyway, I was on a different tangent. What's the weirdest thing you've ever found in food for you, Barnes?
I mean, honestly, like nothing even remotely as crazy as any
Just
of that.
hair or something.
Like, yeah, just your typical like
Hair at a restaurant.
gross hair, or and always at restaurants, not anything in like a regular grocery store item.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had like where we bought like meat that was bad when we got it home, but not a human finger or a baby tooth.
I've encountered a hair, but never anything as extreme as what you've said. I think
lived
the
a
worst,
simple life.
honestly, was that I can recall, like eating out. Besides, like, I mean, I think I've had a fly or a bug in a soup. Like, I've had bugs in drinks many times. I'm not counting that.
Bugs. Just
I mean, like
this
your
is
actual food comes and then something's like from the kitchen wrong. Like,
Yeah.
it happened with you, and we were at a particular establishment, and they bring bread, and it's really good. It's got oil and herbs and everything.
Yeah.
And we had gone to flip it over for whatever reason because we were breaking it, and we looked underneath, and the whole bottom was mold, like green mold.
Sick.
Yeah, and we were just like, we
no
flipped it
thanks.
over, and we told the kitchen, we were like,
Your bread is moldy.
Like, this is
And
real
they're
bad.
like, oh my gosh. We'll
they're
get you a
lucky
new
that you
one.
weren't doing your Google reviews back then because
That's true.
come hell or high water, you would never have sued them as
That's
track
true.
record comes to.
I have a
to
new
show.
hobby, leaving Google reviews.
I have compiled a list of, first of all, it's time for more Gekkeikan
Gekkeikan
Sake. Because new topic, new sake,
Yeah.
brewed in America, Folsom, California. Interesting.
The night that the skeletons came to life.
Yep. If you haven't watched, I think you should leave now on Netflix. We watch it religiously because there's so many just really good moments of comedy. Go check it out.
We're not sponsored by them.
We are not. In 1957, the Wall Street Journal, in conjunction with the Associated Press, interviewed Americans about the changing. You have to understand, the end of the 1950s was the beginning of the sexual revolution of the 1960s. Music was changing, the Beatles, all of that. You're in a post World War environment. Heading into to tensions rising, the Korean War and all that in the times. But I found a list of quotes from 1957 about people's expectations and their worries for the times. Mm-hmm. And I thought it would be funny to read a few of these and discuss them because it really puts it into perspective how far we've come, I think, with inflation, with what we thought as a society and as a culture we would be willing to accept, and just how wrong we were.
Sure.
I'm going to start right at the beginning. I mean, this is a really good one, I think, because it is so telling in 2024. Somebody writes in 1957, "I'll tell you one thing. If things keep going the way they are, it's going to be impossible to buy a week's worth of groceries for $20.
It is definitely impossible to buy a week's worth of groceries for $20 unless you buy Top Ramen and water.
Part of my diet, as you know, is like whole foods, lots of fruits, lots of vegetables, lots of that. To do that per week, I think we figured it was like $102 to $150, depending on what is what, right?
Yeah, I mean,
And that's not counting the time it takes to prep it if you were paying somebody, but just for 1 week of eating clean, which is probably one of the most expensive ways to do it, like at the grocery store.
right. But
I'm fanning you towards your microphone.
if
She
it could
tends
be
to
more,
talk like this. She's like, "Hey, can you hear me from back here?" And you might.
You,
But if
you
you
might
don't
be
like that
able to
fishbowl
hear it,
effect,
but
they
also,
want you so close
but
to
also
the
you don't want
microphone.
me to shriek into the microphone.
I don't want you to shriek. I just
like
want
the
you to be within the.
shrieking eels.
They always grow louder when they're about to feed on Gekkeikan Sake.
Gekkeikan Sake. It can cost more though. Like for instance, I think you could be in the middle of the road at like $100 a week in just produce and meat. But if you're not getting organic, you can do that. If you get organic everything, it's more. Yeah, so $150 a week. And then I guess it depends on the region that you live too. I bet it would be more expensive in California or like New York, for instance, as opposed to Grand Rapids, Michigan. So, yeah, it's expensive. There's no way that you could eat for $20.
But so that's the whole point. So if you were in California trying to eat clean, it would probably be like maybe $100 more.
And this is just one person eating. This is not a family.
I mean, I assume that they're saying buy a week's
worth of groceries. When you go and purchase a week's worth of groceries, you're buying it for your family. And back in the 50s, they commented on like the family unit and like, why would you go buy groceries
they're not talking
for one
about
person?
that here. I'm just saying. The assumption, I think, is that when you say buy a week's worth of groceries, that isn't common for a single person to do. You know, I mean, it is now, but back then it was for families. So I think that is $20 in 1957 could feed a family
Of
for
4.
a week. Yeah, let's just say 4. I mean, I bet there's statistics out there to prove that, but yeah, I mean, that is that's pretty crazy. So shifting gears off economics, another quote says, and this is pretty good, especially again about today. I'm afraid to send my kids to the movies anymore. Ever since they let Clark Gable get by saying damn in Gone with the Wind, it seems every new movie has either hell or damn in it. Like those are the words in 1957. There is a person out there is worried that they won't actually read words that are in the Bible. Both those words appear in the Bible.
That's correct.
It just shows you though.
But they're being used
about the understanding about perception about the of course
those words are not being used in a religious
frankly,
sense
my dear, I don't
to
give a
scare
damn,
people into religion. They're being used as
one of the most
a
iconic
slight.
movie quotes. Clark Gable said
Frankly,
what he said
my dear Scarlett,
in Gone with the
don't
Wind. What
give a
year was
damn.
that? I mean, it was like let's see, 1957. We're talking about
40s.
ever since 15 years ago. Like that's when movies started going to hell in a handbasket, pun intended. You think about songs just on the regular radio that you don't even need a rating to hear, like WAP.
Yeah, get a bucket and a mop.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, you do need a rating to hear. They don't
no,
play
you
it
don't.
on. They don't
It's
play
on
it
the
on.
radio. There's
they
a
don't play it
radio
on the
edit of that song.
Yeah, it's just WAP though.
Right, and then people are like, I wonder what that means. And then one Google search, you figure it out.
Yeah.
But the
So-
rest of the lyrics are just as bad.
I mean, honestly.
Well, they like blur them out.
They blur the lyrics
They go-
out? What?
Yeah.
They bleep them?
No bleeps anymore. Bleeps was the 90s. Now they just
I think that
omit
we
the
should
word.
only bleep on this show. What do you think? Every time that we say a word that we agree, it's a bleep.
That's fine.
You can do that?
Yeah, we can bleep.
Okay, we can do a bleep in post. Have you seen the new cars coming out next year? It won't be long before $5,000 will only buy a used one, says a woman. Gretchen of Connecticut in 1957.
I've bought several used cars for less than 5,000. So.
Yeah. 5,000 though.
Yeah.
It won't be long, which means that
They
2
were
to
buying
4,000
new cars for $4,000.
In 1935, a Packard could be had for a family for $900. As a family car sedan that you could buy in 1935. The Model T was a little bit higher, $2,900.
Yeah.
And the reason that was higher is
But
because
what
it came
is-
with a dealer network
But
and
what's
service
the
plan.
inflation on that?
Okay.
Like,
Well-
what's that now?
Well,
How much money is
$900
that
if you were making, $5 or $6 a day, right?
You just have to put it in Google. Be like,
Well,
what
I mean,
is $900 in
It's not important.
1935? Is that what it was?
But I mean, in
1935
1957, hold on. But in 1957, to be sitting there and going, it's outrageous. Cars, a new car will be more than $5,000.
Yeah.
And there's never a time in our lives that a car has been that cheap, unless it's been a me. I remember when I was younger, you could get like a Honda with high miles for like $5,000. You could certainly and I did this. Certainly drove enough like $200, $300, and $400 cars that I would find like
Yeah.
online.
Yeah.
Like the Mazda 626 that I left on the side of the highway because I knew that it was like a clutch and I just dropped. It was a stick and I just got out and left it. And 2 girls happened to be coming by and I was wearing work clothes and they were like,
We're going to the beach.
we're going to the beach. They were going to the lakeshore. So they were like, do you need a ride? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, you should just, it was literally like the 1960s. They're like, you should just come to the beach with us instead of going to work. And I was like, you're right. And I just called in and I was like, my car died. I won't be in. It's dead. I got to deal with it. It's on the side of the highway. I'm going to be here all day. Can't get a record for hours. I just didn't come in. I went to the beach with these girls
Seems nice.
all day. Yeah, but I didn't have a car when I got home.
To answer Kaylin's question, though, so $1 in 1957 is the equivalent of $10.71 today.
Okay. So you're 10 times the buying power that you were in 1957,
So
which
that
means that
would've been like a
$5,000 now would be
$9,000
$50,000 today.
$50,000. Yeah.
I'd still say that's ridiculous. And here's why. If $50,000, you could easily buy a new car for that today. They're complaining that it's going to reach $5,000 or higher.
You'll have to buy a used car for $50,000.
I was being shown by our mutual friend who's into cars. The other day, he was showing me like costs of cars from the 1960s, because this guy, Kevin, and I have a friend who's into restoring cars. And I'm into cars, of course, so we were talking about the cost of buying them new. And he was just talking about the cost of buying this car new was like $6,000 in the 1970s. And he's like, just to replace the transmission for that car today would cost me as much as 3 of those cars new off the assembly line then. And it's just funny, like perspective in time.
They need to invent time travel.
Yeah, well, I mean, some people think they have done that.
But all your money would have dates from now.
Here's a fun one.
True.
If cigarettes,
or maybe not. You could switch it out for old.
If cigarettes keep going up in price, I'm going to quit. A quarter for a pack is ridiculous, says Frank from Chicago in 1957.
Well, the problem is,
if cigarettes keep going up in price, I'm going to quit.
But so
a quarter
did his
a pack
salary.
is ridiculous.
But so did his salary, and so he didn't quit.
A quarter a pack. What's a pack of cigarettes these days? I don't smoke, but
I've never smoked. So
I grew up with smokers.
I feel like I've seen they look like $8 or something.
I think they were like $3 when we were younger.
Fact check that. Yeah. What's the average cost of a pack of, just for like cost today of a pack of Marlboro cigarettes? You know, the famous Marlboro cigarettes appeared on numerous winning Formula One McLarens throughout the year. You know, what is the cost of a pack of cigarettes today?
$8 in Michigan.
Okay, so in our state, it's probably $7.99 just to make you feel better about spending $8. And this person, Frank, in Chicago in 1957 says a quarter a pack is ridiculous.
Yeah.
If you're talking about
I think $8 a pack is ridiculous. I think it's a lot. But honestly...
But here's the thing. A lot has changed since 1957, too, because the government went after tobacco companies hard.
Right.
As basically being the most sinister, cancer-causing, unhealthy habit that has ever been perpetrated on the world. And so I think a lot of the tobacco companies lost a lot of money.
I always love the line from Kingpin that Woody Harrelson has, where he talks about the tobacco companies. It's like, if cigarettes are so bad, if you're dead, you can't smoke. And that's how he convinces Cousin Eddie or whatever the actor's name.
Right, yeah.
To smoke. I love it.
A quarter a pack of cigarettes. What's the inflation change today to $8? So if $1 is worth $10 today,
almost 10.71.
Yeah, so that's a so it is met and gone beyond inflation, the cost of cigarettes, and I think that is a reflection of the business that the tobacco companies have found themselves in under fire for their health practices with filters. And with cancer-causing stuff, that mouth tobacco and all that. We tried to kind of go on a health kick in the mid-2000s. What's crazy is like all the stuff that's bad in cigarettes, but people bust open a pack of Twinkies like it's nothing and eat phenylalanine and all these other terrible things, added sugar that's through the roof. It gives you diabetes, which is far worse, I think, almost long-term reaching than the chances of getting cancer.
I don't think that people realize that food addiction is as serious as, or sugar addiction or sodium addiction. All of those things are real things. I don't think that they consider them as much as like tobacco addiction or meth addiction or cocaine addiction. Like they're all different, or alcohol addiction. Like they're significant. And like I've been trying to quit sugar for a long time and it is very difficult. I've been struggling. Yeah. It's hard. Like I get like severe cravings and then I'm like,
you think that maybe instead of the tobacco, they wanted people to turn their attention to something else, like granulated sugar, high fructose corn syrup, or whatever, all of the demonizing
Sure.
foods that are like bad for you on YouTube today.
Yeah,
but
because
like,
it's not immediately bad for you, and you kind of feel like you have a choice to eat, because there's so many different kinds of foods
Right.
that you can choose from. So, like, you as a consumer feel like you have a choice to whether you want to eat that Twinkie or you want to eat something else sweet, or you want to
sometimes
eat
you don't
piece
have a
of
choice,
fruit,
though.
or you want to eat a
Honestly,
vegetable, or
if I drank this whole bottle of sake by myself,
yeah.
like at 2 a.m. and there's a box of Twinkies there, or there's like a pack of cigarettes, I'm not going to smoke the pack of cigarettes. I'm going to eat the Twinkies.
For sure.
And I don't know if that's just like growing up in the 80s and 90s or in the early 2000s, or if that's like just my preference.
It's probably partially a preference, and secondly, I think what we were talking about before is that tobacco seems like it's a diabolical thing.
Yeah, it's been
but food
demonized
is food.
into
You have
this.
to eat food.
Right.
You have to eat food. So when there's so many options of like different kinds of food, and they're saying, oh, moderation is fine. Cigarettes, moderation is not fine. But any type of sugar, alcohol, whatever consumable thing that your body can process, it's fine in moderation. However, so people are like, oh, I can eat a bunch of it now and I'll just be healthier later. But people just never get healthier later, and then they get diabetes.
Do you want to know a fun fact?
I do.
Your body actually cannot process alcohol. If you drank pure alcohol, your body would immediately throw it up and reject it.
Yeah.
The only reason that our body is able to ingest, digest, and process alcohol is because it has to be fermented and put into a package. It has to trick the body into believing it's food. That's the only reason that drinks work. When you hit a drink of like a hard liquor and you get that instant feeling of like a throw-up feeling, the reason that is occurring is because your body is trying to decide whether or not it's food or it's too much alcohol, and it will reject it. That's why some people drink a shot and they're not used to that, or
And
they
I
don't
throw
have
up
that level, and
immediately.
they throw up immediately because their body cannot handle it. So food is the universal guise for slipping anything, both through the body and through the mind. Because you need it. You're right. It's sustenance. We do require it. But at the same time, there is no one out there telling anyone besides anyone who's on the internet or is into fitness or something that this stuff is bad for you.
I think
no
that
one's
there's-
saying that really. We all know it's bad. Like, you're not supposed to eat all the little Debbies.
Right.
Or you become Big Deborah. Like, we understand that that's the possibility. But like, also, no one's saying
it's a
this.
future,
That's a future
consequence.
worry, right? That's a future
Right
worry.
now,
That's not tomorrow.
right now you
It's
get the
problem. That's-
delicious sugar and the chocolate or the whatever Twinkie is, flavor vanilla, banana, whatever.
It's delicious. Whatever
This leads me to a segue though, real quick, and I don't want to spend a long time on this. Do you guys think that the tobacco companies got a bad rap early on,
No.
or do you think they got what was coming to them for making nefarious product?
I think they got what was coming for them, to them for making a nefarious product.
Like, he wasn't pure anymore.
I mean,
to start.
for a while, I read a thing and I watched a small documentary on like the history of tobacco companies and cigarette companies and their advertisement and stuff like that. And like, I mean, it was bad at the beginning. Like,
What do you mean bad?
women were not allowed to smoke. If you saw women smoking,
Was there anything women
outside
were
of the
allowed to
house-
do when anything
no,
started?
but if you saw
Honestly,
women
I know,
smoking,
I'm not meaning that as a joke. Was there anything that women were allowed to do?
if you saw
that
a
when
woman
it started?
smoking out on the street, if you
Was a
talked to
prostitute?
her, everyone would think that you're trying to solicit a prostitute.
yeah.
Like,
I've heard that
that
one.
that women, that ladies were not to smoke. It was not seen. But come the 1940s, and all the men go off to war and whatever, and women were being, working more. They're working more in the industrial fields and stuff. They're working more in factories and stuff like that. They had more stress, and there were less men buying their cigarettes because they're off at war, and the army would buy a certain amount
So
of
you're
cigarettes
saying that
for their,
they did it? They got the
packs.
women smoking.
They got the women smoking by doing different types of advertising and
probably
making
true.
it seem attractive, and that
It was.
fashionable women smoke and stuff like that. So you get that into the advertisement for like 10 years, and by the 50s, everybody's smoking. By the 60s, everybody's really smoking.
When I was a small child, I remember getting on a plane, and the plane had No one smoked on a plane.
Ashtrays?
That had ashtrays
Yeah.
that you could flip up on. And so that plane had been in service long enough to have been around at a time where you could cruise onto a flight probably smoking in the terminal.
Yeah.
Can you imagine lighting a cigarette, walking through the gate and getting on your plane and sitting in first class with a highball? I mean, I just got to be honest. Like, there's a certain part of this that's gone that I miss. The ability to do that kind of thing. I understand the health risks of the smoking.
It just stinks too. It's gross.
But this just goes back to rules
In
and
my
regulations, you know, and I understand it does.
And I have asthma, so like that was always a problem.
I get it. I get smoking especially, but I'm just saying.
For
like,
us weak strains, you gotta help us out, man.
I guess I'm just saying not necessarily that smoking or smoking in closed, because I don't smoke even. So clearly, if I was on the receiving end of somebody else doing it, it would bother me. But I guess what I'm saying is like the freedom to be able to come onto a plane like that, you know. Now I guess if you've had like too many cocktails, they're talking about instituting a rule in 2025. If they think that you've been drinking, they can actually breathalyze you like a cop on the side of the road, and if you're too high, they can refuse you onto the plane as a possible risk of disturbing
And they think you're
the
too
peace.
high?
No,
or
too
drunk?
drunk.
Well, there's a lot of
too-
people that have to like get a buzz on to even fly. Just 'cause
That
it's
I'm one of those, as you know.
Well,
like, you know,
maybe
some-
I
I'm
wonder
gonna
if that's
fly later
because of
this
that.
month and-
I wonder if it's because of that lady that like was
The crazy one? But she-
screaming about the man who wasn't a real man that was in the back of the plane.
I don't want to
stuff.
dig into all that, but there's been a lot of people that have said that the whole story about that hasn't come out either. So
She
anyway.
said she didn't see anything. That she took some prescription pills at the same time as she was drinking, and then she
sounds
had
exactly what
an
a publicist would
altercation-
tell you as a cover story
an
to say when
altercation with the
something
man
happened.
next to her who was like a Satanist and told her that he was Satan.
he looking like a man.
When I first started driving, who would have thought gas would someday cost 29 cents a gallon?
Yeah.
Margaret from Baltimore goes on to say, guess we'd be better off, leaving the car in the garage.
Yeah.
20 cents a gallon.
My
29
grandpa,
cents.
my grandpa would famously say in my family, he would say, whatever the gas price is, can you believe gas is 48 cents? Highway robbery.
29
Can
cents
you
a gallon.
believe it's 87 cents? Highway robbery.
So 29 cents a gallon. I think 20 in my SUV. It took us, last year we went to Tampa. It took us like 18 hours-ish. And I think the total fuel cost was somewhere probably north of $250.
Yeah.
Maybe more. I can't remember exactly because we weren't keeping receipts. But 29 cents a gallon, my total fuel cost for the same trip would have been $61 there and back.
Yeah.
It's something to put in perspective because at 29 cents a gallon for what labor cost at the time that the oil companies were moving crude around in the U.S. 1957, the amount of profit still at 29 cents a gallon is staggering. You see these Saudi businessmen and these oil guys from the Emirates, and I mean you're talking about money like they get bequeathed fortunes that are like it's like a joke almost because they're already so rich.
Yeah.
And they just keep recycling this money and it stays within the families and like they just get wealthier and wealthier off this importation. And like we used to have quite a big oil production in the U.S. in Texas and then later in Canada, which was shut down. Gas prices in 24. I mean, we're coming into an election cycle, so as always, they start to fall right now.
Yeah, they always do.
And we've been told time and time again that the U.S. government has no control over gas prices in the U.S. So maybe it's just a coincidence that they're low coming into an election cycle. But 29 cents a gallon, I guess we'd be better off leaving the car in the garage. So, I mean, right before stuff started to go like under $3 a gallon, we were at able between $3.89 and $4.20 a gallon in Michigan for your average fill up, and that was through November of last year, and until October of 2023. So That was the average that we experienced.
November of 2022
through October of 2023. It does 11 months it tracks, but I don't know why it does that. It's just like what they're saying here. But the point of that is that at 29 cents a gallon, the gas fluctuation has always gone up and down. I mean, I can honestly remember there was a time where gas was like $1 a gallon. I do remember it like 99 cents or a dollar, like when I was like in high school
when
or
I
junior high.
started driving. Yeah, it was $1.
I remember giving like a buddy like $5 to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Like we'd go on a trip, we'd go see like something like a show, or we were playing a show, or we'd road trip somewhere. I'd give him $5. Or like if we were going to Chicago, I'd give him 10.
Right.
Like
yeah.
Well,
I would ride with my friends in my junior, senior year or whatever, because they could always drive like a year ahead of me because I was young. And I would give them $5 or whatever. But like I remember complaining because gas went up to like, I don't know, $1.90 something a gallon. And I was waitressing at that time, so I was making $2.11 or whatever. Plus tips. But some days were really bad because I was working outside on this deck of a restaurant.
Sure.
And it was early summer, and so some days were kind of cold, and like just nobody wanted to sit outside on the beach like when it was 65 degrees. Like they wanted to sit inside.
Cold, right.
Yeah. And so like some days there would be no customers, so I wouldn't make any money. And I remember going to church and talking to a friend of mine, and another kid's mom came up and heard me complaining that gas was so expensive. And she's just like, well, you got to work more. And I was like, cool, but like if I can't afford to drive to work, how am I supposed to work more? And like if I don't make any money at work, what am I supposed to do? And she's like, get a better job. And I'm like, but I'm in school.
This is a grown woman?
Yeah. I'm in school.
She elderly?
No. She was a friend's mom.
This is another quote going along with it. If they raise minimum wage to $1, nobody will be able to hire outside help at the store anymore.
Yeah.
That's
what they're saying now.
When I started working, this is what I mean. It's the same problems over and over again.
If they can bring it up to $15 an hour, nobody's going to hire anything.
Yeah, so on that last point, gas actually was more expensive in 1957 if we equate it to our dollar now.
Wow.
So they're saying in this chart, and this is going to 2022 dollars, but so in 1957 the national average was 31 cents a gallon, which was $3.21.
Oh, today.
2022 money.
So they're paying a little bit less than we did in 23.
So
but not much.
Not much.
That is interesting.
But it's if you equate that $1 is almost $11.
So that's a sliding scale.
Yeah,
and that's based on economics. But it's always going up, right? Eventually, it's always steadily going up.
It dips because, like, when you look at, depending on like what's going on in the world, like when the 70s gas crisis, when it skyrockets, in 2000 when the natural gas North American crisis was, right around the time that I started driving, went crazy. So, I mean, it ebbs and flows. But honestly, it's the same complaint since really.
So this is an
gas or
age-old
petrol, as they used to call it.
Yeah. So paying by the gallon for anything that could slide up or down, it's.
I think
so. We can call that one. We can call this one an age-old one. I mean, as long as the car's been around.
I think all of these complaints sound age-old. Honestly, if you just like put them in modern day, like people talking about, I can't buy a car for less than whatever. I can't buy gas for less than whatever. I'm not going to be able to afford groceries. Like I can't get groceries for $100 a week now. Like it's basically the same thing. I think it's anytime we go through a recession and then come out of it, it's like, things have to inflate in order to catch up, and then people eventually make more money and it evens out, and then it goes up again, and everybody's constantly in that catch-up game.
I think part of it too is your mind doesn't really adjust to inflation.
Right.
So like
you
when
still
I think of gas, right? I think about when I started driving, it was like $1.50.
Yeah, I still think of $5 footlong. That's not a thing anymore.
Right. So when you look at gas now and you're like, man, it's like $3 a gallon. In my mind, it should still be $1.50 because that's what it was when I started buying gas.
Yeah.
The cheapest footlong at Subway, if I cash out, I get turkey, the wheat bread, a few veggies, and mayo. No chips, no drink, just straight up at $7.99. So they've gone.
That's crazy.
$2 from where they were.
For a 6-inch, or is that a footlong?
That's a footlong.
Oh.
Someone said, did you see where some baseball player just signed a contract for $75,000 a year just to play ball? It wouldn't surprise me if someday they'll be making more than the president. Now, the average presidential
salary gone up?
$400,000 a year is what it usually is.
But like, how long has that been a thing?
The president makes about $400,000 a year outside special interests.
But how long has that been a thing?
For a long time, I think. What do you got there? Got some data on that?
Well, I'm looking at the average ball player.
Ball player, I like that. Like we're just gonna call.
I'm gonna use the old terms.
Come on, here's one of them ball players.
When I think of ball player, I think of basketball.
Well, it wouldn't matter in this case.
So the average.
He said baseball to start, but
this isn't current. Hang on.
But it's $75,000 a year. It wouldn't surprise me if someday they'll be making more than the president. So I mean I think the president makes about $400,000 a year. Clearly, we know there's athletes that make millions in the 1980s even.
Right.
And 90s. I mean, Michael Jordan was one of the highest paid athletes in the world at the time. When they were winning championships in the
But that
early
makes
90s.
sense because the ball players are making money for other people. The president is not really supposed to be making money for other people.
But the average MLB player against average is $4.9 million.
Nice.
The average makes that?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So I mean, you got to figure then like the lowest player is still making easily six figures.
But here's the thing. There's something to be said about that. And that sounds like, oh, anyone could just go play baseball and it'd be great money or whatever. But you got to consider this. There are so many paths to every one of those major sports that you have to go through. If you play in college and you're okay, but you're not like the best, but you still think you're pretty good, like you're good enough to compete, you have to take a different channel to get to the majors, to get to that point. And there's guys like even on our Detroit Lions who took a circuitous path, like Craig Reynolds. You know, that guy didn't play college. He just went straight from high school and just started running combines. And
well, that's what's interesting is like the minor league. So minor league baseball players, right? We have a minor league team here. Average in Michigan is $40,000.
Right. Yeah.
So
still pretty good money to play.
Good money.
You could have a regular job and probably hit practices.
You know, but they're saying $19.33 an hour.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the fact that $75,000 was paid to someone a year in 1957, I would have guessed they were making more by then. Honestly, I would have guessed that they were making between $100,000 and $200,000 a year in 1957. So somebody was saying like a headline then, you know.
Yeah, that would be $800,000 our money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which is probably about what the lowest MLB player probably makes now.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
I'm gonna end the quotes on this one. I think this one is pretty good.
Okay.
It's too bad things are so tough nowadays. I see where a few married women are having to work to make ends meet.
Wow.
What a capitulation, huh? And I mean, you think about that now, that statement to anybody, to a younger woman in college and probably a career woman like yourself today, that's almost an offensive sentence. You know, it's like an offensive point of view that like sort looking at a woman like a victim of needing to go out to work, like she's outside doing laundry, like once again Charlie Buttons.
Yeah, but that's only thinking about it from, you know, today's view. But if you're thinking about it from the past view, when men were supposed to be the ones taking care of the family and the women were supposed to be able to be taken care of, like they were in their femininity and men were in their masculinity. But I think like after years of, you know, feminist stuff
changes,
and everybody wanting to be
feminist stuff.
I think that, you know, women wanted to like be in control of themselves.
But I'm saying that sentence seems ridiculous by today's standards.
Sure, like everybody works now,
right?
Like
part of it though,
it's difficult though because you really, it would be hard. You have to be making a decent amount of money in order to support a whole family on one salary.
In 1957, right? So go watch an episode of Leave It to Beaver, right?
Yeah.
How many cars do they have?
Yeah, one car.
One car. How many TVs do they have?
One TV, right?
Right. How many living rooms do they have?
That's one. Yeah,
one.
I see where you're going with this.
So meaning like in today's family, right? So Kaylin, you live alone.
Yeah.
How many TVs do you have?
2.
And a PC.
And a computer.
And a phone.
Yeah.
Right?
And an iPad.
So like, you know, I'm married. We have two 2 vehicles. I have more TVs than I want to say in my house. Like,
don't even want to go there.
Don't care how.
Don't want to do vehicles or TVs. Good.
So, I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Super
like,
inconvenient
the
if you're
needs
2
of a family
people
have changed.
or more with one family car or with one TV.
It's a different time.
It's
So
a
I
different
think
time.
I think though that it is a different time, but like maybe a lot of what's ridiculous and continue to grow into being more ridiculous is our dependency on this stuff. Like we have a TV in every room, so that at any point, you know, I remember the idea when I was young about having a TV in every room and how like that was futuristic to me. Because you could be entertained in any room you wanted to go in. If you were grounded in a room and there was a TV in there, you could just turn it on and be like, I remember thinking these thoughts as a kid.
Yeah.
And now with like the modern smartphone, it's just kind of like are never like the reason you can't go to the bathroom and without it is because we need to be entertained all the time.
Right.
We're literally doing this show right now because people want to have content because they want to be entertained all the time, and we listen to things like this because we need to be entertained all the time. I don't know that that's anything bad. It might just be a human condition, but like, but like the truth is that it's always been this way. It's always been this way even back then. Like,
well, we always want more than the generation before.
Right, and I think that's what's been going on. It's just been this kind of grabbing.
I think I remember seeing an episode of Cribs like back in the early 2000s or whatever, and they had. There were TVs in every room. Yeah, they had like a TV. You could sit on the toilet, and there was a TV like on the wall, like right in front of them. And I was like, "Wow, that's like rich people, and that's like the craziest thing. You'd never be bored having a poo." And then I'm like, "But now you don't even need that because you have your phone. You bring your phone with you everywhere."
Do you remember on MTV? There's something about that era of television where they would do like the Pimp My Ride, and they put a TV in the trunk because everybody needs a TV in the trunk.
Because everyone needs a TV in the trunk.
Every trunk in that show became like a dog groomer station, or like I'm gonna make cotton candy or something. Or like I'm into clowning. It's a clown station to put on your makeup and like tie people up and put them in the. Anyway,
but you think about it too.
Pimp My Ride, Murder Edition.
You think about it like, you know, our grandparents' generation, or maybe even a little older, right? They went off to war. The men went off to war to World War II, right? Women went to work out of necessity in society, and then men came back from war, and women
wanted to stay working.
And then those families
they had a taste, I think, of
they got a taste of the good life,
independence, and there was probably some organizational changes that happened because not every man is good at doing every job, and clearly not every woman is good at doing every job. But some women are good at doing some jobs better than some men, and so there were probably some step ups there.
Well, you think of it too. You went from a single income family, right, to a dual income family. You got
and you're like,
hide the money. There's poor people around.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You know, like
that's a big.
And then now we've just become accustomed to it, where most families do have, you know, multiple people in that household that work.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So, I don't know what's better. I like the life I have now.
Yeah,
I like having a TV in every room.
Right. but you can't get onto a plane holding a highball with a cigarette in your hand.
But
and
I
sit down
could,
first class on
if my wife wasn't, you know, we didn't have a business or whatever, and she didn't want to work. Like, we could do that if we pared down to one vehicle.
Right.
And, you know, I didn't buy 10 billion video games and all the things that I want.
You know.
Sucky it to me, baby. Right. It's time to finish this bottle.
Oh, no.
Squirrel? When is it too late to cancel plans with a friend?
That's a good question.
Like, when is it to the point where it's too late to say, you know what, we're not going to make it, and you're at the point where you're a shit because you've let that person hang until an hour before you're supposed to be there, or even minutes before, or sometimes the next day you're like, sorry I didn't reply because I had diarrhea.
Yeah, that's not an excuse.
Nobody poops without their phone.
In today's day and age,
even
you
when
can
you're pooping
literally
diarrhea,
send
you're
a
looking at your
text
phone.
and you're like, I am dying. I'm in the hospital. Sorry. Unless you're in a coma, there's no excuse for not sending a text or canceling ahead of time. Like, you can know, unless your car dies on the way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a possibility of something that could be a problem.
You think it makes you a bad person?
Totally. If you know you're not going to go to something, if you don't want to go to something, and you're just like, oh, I'll let you know. That's literally the worst. That's literally the worst.
So wait, but so we're talking about two things. We're talking about when is it too late to say I'm not going to make it to something that's organized,
Okay.
planned.
I
And
think
then,
it depends on what it
hold on,
is.
part two.
It does depend on what it is.
Time out, T-Mart. The second part of the thing is, when is it, or also, what is the condition about I'll let you know, and the best better deal? You know, what?
I don't
like
think
they're both.
half the
They're
time
both,
I don't think it's a bigger, better deal thing. I think it's I don't want to go, and so I don't want to commit to it.
But you don't want to go, so you don't say no. Why are we saying?
Why do we say I'll let you know? Because you don't want to tell the person and make them feel bad, or have the person feel bad that they're not interesting.
Can I just offer my 2 cents on this subject?
Yeah.
And that is, well, you know, of course I'm going to, because that's what we do on this show. If I have a friend and I make plans with that friend and that friend doesn't want to do that thing, I want that friend to tell me that they don't want to do that thing. And the reason is because of what you're saying. Because it's worse to be told, well, maybe, or I'll let you know, or we'll see. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, that's not a no.
Right.
If you're trying to get a thing together and get a head count, or you're going to make food, or people are going to come, or whatever, or even if it's just like a music show, mm-hmm. you're trying to understand,
what do people want?
And like, what is the situation going to be like? And if you get a we'll let you know out of someone, or I'll be there. Okay, which is worse? A we'll let you know and then cancel 5 minutes, or never let you know? Or I'm going to be there and don't show up.
Oh, that's worse. I'm going to be there and they don't show up is always worse. When is this exceptionally worse? Weddings.
Oh, yeah, because you paid for their food.
I mean, we've both been married. You when you have a wedding.
Cat's out of the back. Meow.
Meow. When you have a wedding, you're paying for the seating placement of each person, of each guest. So when you send out these invites and people don't respond, it's like, all right, and then you send them again, or you have to call people.
Does it also make you feel
them.
like shit though? Like if you
It
think about someone
like
enough to include them in your wedding,
right? And they don't answer.
And they aren't even have enough.
They're like
time to
bigger, better dealing it, or they're just not interested, or they just forgot because they're busy, or maybe they didn't receive it. So then you call them, they're like, oh yeah, I'll let you know, and then they show up and they bring 4 people, or then they show up and they bring even a +1 that when they weren't.
They bring 4 people.
Yeah, that happened. And fortunately, unfortunately enough people that said they were coming didn't show up and they just no call, no showed it to the wedding. And so they're like, oh, it's not my job, so I don't have to show or call.
I didn't have that experience. I had 2 extras show up that had originally said they weren't going to be there as a surprise.
That's not okay.
It worked out, but yes, it was
you can't do that. You can't expect that. People will have enough food for you.
To be fair, they announced that they had eaten prior and they weren't expecting to be served because they were meant to be a surprise. So they did take the correct path. It was my cousins from out of state, but anyway.
Okay, if it's a planned thing.
Well, let's say you're going to hang out with a friend, right? Let's say you and a friend have made plans. It's Sunday.
Yeah.
You've made plans to hang out the following Friday.
Okay.
On that Friday, you're supposed to hang out at 7 p.m. Mm-hmm. At 6:45, the friend writes you and says, you know, girl, I'm just not feeling it. I'm just like, I got poop coming out of my ears, and that's weird, and so I'm going to need to stay home. How do you feel about that?
If they're sick, they literally have diarrhea coming out of their brain.
But how do you know anymore?
Then I'm
Everybody's sick all the time. Like, no offense to people in the world, but like,
it's true.
But like, I've had people be like, I'm sick, and then I'll see them the next day, and they're out like training for a marathon. I'm like,
right.
I thought you were sick. Like,
I tend to believe the people that tell me that they're sick. If somebody's like, a thing came up and I have to go and do this with my family now, or I totally forgot and there's this thing, and then I'm like, cool, well, I'm writing you off as a friend.
Yeah.
That's literally like, I've come to that point. I haven't always been that way because I tend to be a people pleaser, and I'm like, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, they forgot and whatever. I must not be that good of a friend to them or whatever. And I start feeling down upon myself. And I'm like, you know what? Nah, if you can't give me a heads up at least 24 hours in advance, unless you're actually really, really sick, then I'm not friends with you until you invite me to do a thing again later.
Do you think that maybe that's not like that's like a not nice version of that? Like, but to play again devil's advocate is, and that's not me either. I would tend to my natural reaction is to tend to agree with you more on that. but a nicer person. There are people who are genuinely
to be nice.
Nice
This
to
is
the
the
point where
problem.
they just like let even people walk all over them to a fault.
I used to be nice. That's what happened.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like a nice person would be like, it's okay.
Yeah.
And they would feel poorly about it, but they would never hold a grudge on it.
No.
Are they better off in this situation?
Those people?
Well, the reason I say that is because if they are better off, and they are better off because they aren't internalizing an anger or a vitriol about a subject, are they better off because they didn't internalize it than like you or I would be offended or bothered by someone who canceled plans last minute for an erroneous reason?
Does this person have things canceled on them daily, weekly, all the time? Or is this just a one-time thing and it's a nice person? Because when it used to be a one-time thing for me, I was nice
So
and
you're
I would
saying
give
that
them the
people
benefit
cancel
of
on
the
you
doubt.
all the time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I don't make a ton of plans, so I guess because I make so much fewer than you, I don't experience this like awkward cancellation.
Yeah, I get a lot of this awkward cancellation.
What I get more of is because I don't make so many plans, people think I'm more open, and I get invited to random things in the middle of the afternoon.
I get that as well.
Okay.
But it's preceded with, I know you're super busy all the time, but do you want to do this? And I'm usually like, no, I'm busy. Sorry. And so when people are like, hey, let's do this thing, or I'm like, hey, let's do this thing.
So you carve a moment out of your calendar for them?
I carve a moment out of my calendar
busy
for this person,
calendar?
for my busy schedule. I carve a time out. I'll carve an entire evening out on the weekends sometimes.
Yeah.
And then that person is like, hey, I'm so sorry. Like, I've got this other thing and I forgot about it. And I'm like, all right, I totally understand. I will not contact that person again, ever.
People in their 20s,
They have to
though,
contact me. And if they do, all is forgiven, and they can set up a time, and it will be on their time, and it'll be a couple months in advance.
Yeah, but you didn't arrive at this conclusion. I helped you arrive.
You did help me arrive at this
because
conclusion.
You didn't
but it was
realize
because I was
that,
feeling so much resentment towards people doing this to me.
and this is what I'm trying to get at about asking about the nice person is I learned that I used to take cancellations personally because I knew people to be on their own shitty.
And
they would
flaky.
choose to do the thing. If there's something more glamorous,
Yeah.
you know, than coming over and playing Dungeons and Dragons at my house, then you know, they'll go do that. I get how that sounds as I say it out loud. But the point is, isn't it, I think that there's a middle ground between the nice person who doesn't internalize the cancellation as a slight, and where you're at and where I am at, where we are at before you made your decision to
Yeah.
There's a threshold in between that is, I think, the healthy way to play it, which is that you're disappointed that the person canceled on you. You're not going to hold a grudge in the future, but if that happens,
If it's happened
you
multiple
don't
times.
extend yourself any longer
Correct.
towards that person's good
Yeah.
favor. More like as you would be excited about hanging out with a certain friend or person, you no longer extend things out to them because you know now what you're going to get. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think. So like younger people, right? Like younger than us in their 20s, who are like, I get that generation's like even worse about not calling, about not showing, about like hardcore people in their 20s, like getting jobs in the last 2 years and just they get a job one day, they work one day and they're like, this job sucks, and they just like never come back. No call, no show, no any. Like the boss calls, like, hey, are you coming into work? Just zero. And like they'll go on a date and they'll be like, I love you to someone on the date, realize in the morning that they were just horny, and then the next day be like, ghost, like never deal with it, never face it.
Yeah.
And that is scary. That's scarier because like I think getting ghosted is like probably one of the most, like if you're in, especially if you're in a serious thing or you're in like involved with somebody in something and they just refuse to communicate with you any further, it's probably the most infuriating thing.
Yeah.
It has tested my mental health as you've done it to me in the past.
For like an hour while I'm pooping by myself.
To imagine like having that done to you like in high school though, lacking the maturity that even we lack in our adulthood, I can see why some of these kids just lose it and bring a gun to school. I'm not saying I condone it, but I'm just saying.
Because of getting ghosted?
Yeah, but I'm just saying that the way that social media works and the way that
There's a lot of online bullying in
but
that
we
as well.
want instant, just like going back to what we were talking about TVs in every room, having your phone and having interaction with the world at large, even when you're taking a shit, it's a big responsibility. I can sit on a piece of poop crap toilet drunk at 3 a.m. and write something completely ridiculous that could ruin the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Because I have access to do that. I could write something totally emotional that I don't even mean, and it could be taken the wrong way, and you could be canceled for it. Like that's like the world that we live in today is so like just they pounce on everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and there are bad people. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that ghosting people is great. It's actually what I'm saying is it's infuriating.
It's bad.
And so I can understand like how some younger people who aren't mature would get that, like have that happen to them, and like how that could like mess with you, you know.
Yeah. So how late is too late to cancel plans?
I would say an hour before is too late. I would say that day, if I have plans with someone in the evening and they cancel in the afternoon, like between noon and 3 p.m., that's respectable. I
would say 3 hours before is the cutoff time.
Right.
Because that gives you enough time to plan something else. If you do it 1 hour before, that's ruining that person's day or event, potentially.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree.
I think 3 hours before.
What about the I'll let you know
a good cancellation
before
policy.
coming to your event? I feel like now when I invite someone to something and they'll be like, well, we got this and this going on, but I'll let you know.
It's a nice way of saying no.
I just need to reply back and say, I won't count on seeing you. I used to think that was too passive aggressive, but now what I'm doing is I just like in my adult life, I just don't feel like pissing about anymore.
Right.
If you
waiting on other people.
Yeah, I don't want to know. Like, I'm going to assume if someone isn't like, yes, I'll be there, because we even know, just like this conversation, sometimes yes, I'll be there doesn't mean yes, I'll be there.
Right.
Sometimes yes, I'll be there means I'll just let you know the next day that something else happened.
Right.
Because you're my friend and you'll always be my friend, and so I can always just have you understand that I'll do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And so you end up having to be the person that either invites people to something or the person that gets invited to things.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're both, you kind of have to try to juggle like how you interpret your own invitations being turned down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think as adults, that's why I was trying to tell you.
I'm very used to that though, as a perpetual nerd. I've always, tried to have parties.
You look like a perpetual nerd.
Yeah, I've always tried to have parties. I have a good friend of mine, and she and I always joke about when we were in high school, we would try and like make get-togethers with our friends, and our friends would always say, "Oh yeah, well I'll check and see what I have going on this weekend." Well, you don't have plans? Well, not yet. So can we be your plan?
See, but that's like a high school version of it.
Of what adults do. Plan?
Adults do the same thing. They just
do the same thing.
They just leave out the point. Like they leave out the point that they don't have plans. That they don't have plans. Well, no, yeah, there's some stuff going on. I just need to now. And the best one is, this hasn't happened to me, but I hear it vicariously where someone's got to check with their spouse.
Yeah.
Well, I got to check with them and see what's going on, and like make sure it's cool.
Well. Yeah, and
like my
favorite is when you see a person that has dogs. Dogs are the most. Dog Kevin. Yes,
I have both a wife and a dog.
He has a wife and a dog, which he usually does have to check with Jenny and with your wife and
whatever.
We can edit that out.
Usually, yes.
We gotta edit that out.
It's fine. We'll edit it out.
We can edit. Yeah, you can do beep over the top of it.
Her name's Jennifer.
Jenny.
She's a dog groomer.
Jenny.
She does dog hair.
What?
Whatever.
Same difference. People hair, dog hair. It doesn't matter.
Anyway, so what was I saying?
So throw out the scent.
Dogs.
Protect your anonymity.
People who have dogs, I get it. You have to go home and let the dogs out. You have to go whatever.
Who?
Anyone. Anyone has to go home and let the dogs out. So the
answer to the question of who let the dogs out, it's anyone.
Who?
It's typically me.
You have to go and let the dogs out. Okay, I get it. But like, if I see you,
somebody's canceled plans with you because they have to go let the dogs out.
Because they have to go. Yeah, they have to like let the dogs out of their crate.
How long does a dog letting out take for you?
We can leave our dogs from like 8 to 10 hours.
Okay.
Yep.
You go. Hold on. But if you go home to let them out, how long is that procedure?
10 minutes.
Yeah. So these people would be like, I see them on Snapchat
And Kevin's got 2
stories or
dogs
whatever,
for
and
the
they're
dog.
constantly going out and doing things with other people. But when I ask them
not
to
a friend.
do something, after we're already hanging out, I'm like, oh, let's go and do this thing. Oh, yeah, I gotta let the dogs out. I gotta like go back. And I'm like, all right, if that happens one time, sure. If that happens 2 times, they're not my friend anymore.
The only time
I'm to that point.
That is junior high.
as a
I'm
dog
just saying.
owner,
Totally.
It's
Totally. I'm at the point where I have too many friends and not enough of them that are genuinely interested in me
not anymore.
So
Because you're not single anymore. That's what happened.
I cut them out.
Yeah.
I immediately cut them out.
You have to consider that.
right?
These are girlfriends, though.
I have 2 dogs. I hate to say dog owner.
I said
'cause
what
they're
I
parts
said.
of my family, but I have 2 dogs. Right. The only time that's a valid excuse is if you've already been gone all day and then you're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's like, yeah, I got to stop at home and let the dogs out so they don't poop all over the
Right,
house.
but this isn't what they're saying. They're like, well, I've been gone for like 3 hours. I need to go home again and let the dog out, and then I'm just
Unless
going to
you
be
got
at
a puppy.
home.
Like if you have a legitimate puppy, you got to let them out like every hour or every 2 hours until their bladders develop or whatever. But my
But
dog's
this person wouldn't be out every other
Yeah.
night with other people doing
like,
everything
my
else.
dog's like we've left them for
Just
12
'cause I'm
hours and
boring.
they're fine. I don't like to do that, but we can.
So how?
Basically, I think
long
this conversation is
it-
just me being sensitive about
You're
being
just-
boring
I
and
think
a
you're-
nerd.
I don't think that's what it is. I think what we're talking about is a disease in society where people don't commit to plans like they used to, because committing to plans means that they are not able to accept other plans, and that means that your plans aren't
Are
piquing
boring.
their interest.
That's what I'm saying. Me being sensitive about being boring
If
and a nerd.
I get that from someone, that's what I'm trying to tell you. I just say, I will plan on not seeing you. Enjoy whatever, I won't even go on. I'll plan
Yeah.
on not seeing you. And it's not to be passive aggressive, as you might initially think.
No,
it is
it's
to
just
it is
to
to put it
clarify.
forward and clarify that now they're off the hook.
They don't have to worry about it.
They do not have to worry about it. But I do know going forward not to extend an invite for a similar thing to that person
Right.
again, because they don't want it.
Right.
Or if they want it when they only have like nothing else going on.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, if I have to stay home and do my taxes or go to this thing, I guess I'll go to that thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's better than doing taxes. I don't want that person around because they're not going to be very fun to be around.
Mm-hmm.
So, surprise topic.
Wait.
No, wait. Its door is closed. Sake it to me. One more cheers.
But we didn't talk about how late is too late to confirm plans.
It's done. We've closed the door on it. We've been on it, I think, long. I think we did talk about it, actually. Kevin, I think we did talk about how long it is.
We've talked about a lot.
Yeah.
Cancel plans, yes, but not confirmed.
Well, the question
Probably
was...
the same,
I
3
think it's
hours
the
ahead
same.
of time.
I
Well,
think-
unless it's a wedding, and then it's by the...
I think
Right, we've
the point of
delineated all the
topic
different
month
ways
before.
that not confirming is poor.
Be
in time.
courteous.
Yeah, I think that...
I
I
think,
think
yeah. I think
Great.
there has to
guys,
be-
I got to stop this. I want to talk about boogers.
What?
Boogers.
Why?
Yeah, I want to... Because
What kind of boogers?
there's only one kind of booger. They're the kind that
There's
are in your
not.
nose. Here, okay. I'm just going to talk about this. I was driving down the road in the summer. Okay? I know that you're already left. I have a bright blue car that I drive in the summer, so it's fairly
Visible.
visible.
It is a visible
It has a
car.
top that comes out, and the top was out. As I'm driving down the road, I get like an itch. You ever get like a booger that is like so dry and so sharp that it's like hurting your nose?
Yeah, you
It's
feel like
so
it's
sharp.
stabbing you.
And I
Yeah.
got one of those, and I went in there and I got this booger out, and then I looked around, and there's this like younger, like maybe a mom, only because she was in one of those cars with like kids that are on the back as a sticker.
Yeah.
And she's just looking at me. She's just like, the windows are down. She goes, "Did you get it?" And I was kind of like at first like appalled that someone commented because but then I was like, bitch, you got boogers too. We all got boogers. It's like when everybody laughs at farts. And it's like, everyone laughs when someone farts, but everybody farts. Everybody does.
Correct.
Your butthole passes gas and waste.
I
It's
don't
a
fart.
refuse
I've never
hole.
farted in my whole life.
Oh, here we go. I'm going to leave that one.
I've never ever farted.
I'm just saying, socially, though, like farts, picking your nose and boogers have also this sort of like...
Well, it's dirty. You don't do it in front of people. But
if you're in the car and
everybody's
you have a
just
sharp
picking their
booger-
nose. Like, I pick my nose
people
in the car.
who use their pinky, I've never understand that.
My nose holes are very
Like
small.
some type of grandfather.
None of my other fingers can get into my nose. Only my pinky. Look how little.
You're saying your index finger won't fit in enough to get it? Yes, it does. It fits in enough to get a booger out.
It's stuck. That's it.
You could get a bug out.
You
that
could get
way.
a booger
No,
out.
but
with
this is so much better.
You literally are like a turn of the century grandfather. Come on, I got work to do.
Oh, grandfather would use his car keys.
Yeah.
You, really? Yeah, grandfather. You've seen someone do that?
I've seen my dad clean his ears with his keys. So yeah,
That
I'm
is
sure he
insane.
gets a bug. that
I
way.
just was, it reminded me of the fact that we have all these social things and this person is laughing at me. I didn't say anything back to her. She goes, did you get it or whatever I said before? And I was like, yeah, I did. I go, it's a sharp one. And she just laughed and drove away.
That's probably the best thing you could say.
Yeah, I would say that was an open and shut.
Because she was trying to shame you.
She was, but I
And
was like,
you were just
and I was
like,
just like,
yeah.
you know me. I'm not gonna be embarrassed about that.
Because everybody gets boogers. It's just
But
Everybody
like,
gets
I
them.
see a lady on the road a couple days ago. You know, and I'm in the left lane, and I'm going. So it's a turn lane situation. So it's like you can go straight, but both lanes also turn right. You know where this is, up Baldwin, like before going to Chicago Drive, like those two roads there. They
Okay.
turn. I'm going to turn right, get a good car wash, and there's a lady sitting next to me, and I'm looking over to see if traffic's coming because eventually I'll need to like juke past all those people and get into the furthest right lane once we've completed a turn. I look over and this lady's digging for treasure. I mean, just in there, and then she puts her hands down for a second, and we're still at the same light, and I watch her go.
Oh no!
not saying she ate a booger.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh
You're
no!
not saying she ate a
She
booger.
ate that booger.
But
She ate it.
But I think that she
ate
has
it.
been eating boogers
Maybe
for long
her
enough.
immunity, like her immune system, is really.
What is a
working.
booger? What is a booger? It's snot and dirt.
It's dirt
That filters in
and
from
the
your
boogies collect it
cilia?
so that you don't breathe it
Your
in.
cilia hairs in
Yeah,
your
your
nose
cilia.
are the filter, and they capture dust, skin cells, whatever have you that you breathe in, and combines with
It's
your own
dirt
internal
that you're
snot.
not supposed to intake, and she just intook it.
Well, it's been in her body anyway, so there's that.
It
argument,
wasn't
but
in her body. It was almost in her body.
So the question here is, in all of this, is it?
It was
is
in the
it the-
entryway of her body, like
It's
one
like
of those,
licking a vacuum
like one of
cleaner
those,
filter.
like one of those.
Is it
entryways
eating the
into a
booger though,
spaceship.
taking it to the next level?
Yes.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Can we forgive
I can forgive a
picking to get out of a
I can forgive a
uncomfortable
picking
situation?
because you can
everybody
blow
does
and
that.
blow and blow.
Everybody does it,
sometimes.
right?
Everybody does.
Everyone
that.
does it.
I
You
just
can blow
want-
and blow and blow sometimes, and you cannot get out that boogie, but you can get it.
But honestly,
with
I've
your
never
finger.
had this
But
conversation.
you don't have
I
to
don't know
eat
if
it.
everybody
You don't have to
does
eat
that.
it.
I don't know that everybody picks their
I have
nose.
picked a bug, so yes.
I do pick a nose pretty frequently.
Because if it's an annoying bug, yeah.
yeah, you got to get it.
So it's just like we have these things where we do them privately, or we would do them in front of, say, a significant other.
no,
But you wouldn't pick your nose in front of like someone else.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I would. I don't care.
That's a weird thing to do.
I'm not
I
going
don't.
to eat a bug.
I'm not gonna eat it.
If you had something stuck in your teeth, would you pick it in front of somebody?
Yes.
Yes.
She'll
the
do it in
same
the middle
thing
of a
to
full
me, though.
restaurant.
That's the same thing to me. As long as you don't, like,
I mean, you'll be like, is it in there?
Well, it's because I have braces. But before I
Yeah,
had
but I
braces,
mean, it's
I
not like
didn't.
I don't understand.
but it's the same. It's the same thing.
We're the exciting braces.
No, don't pick your butt. That's a whole different thing. But
We're going to look so good in a few weeks, guys. And by weeks, I mean
Years.
52 of them.
weeks.
I can't wait to wear a retainer.
All right, I wanted to say this whole time, and I have been trying. Sake it to me. It's bottoms up here on the Gekkeikan Sake.
I can't bottoms up.
Can't do it.
I can't. I'm barely
do
getting
it.
this down. Guys, I don't like sake. It's fine. I don't like it.
It's fine. What if we tried later a flavored one? So your review of this is what? Tell me
Tastes-
what you think about it.
Tastes like I'm supposed to like it.
It tastes like you're supposed to like it. Now that it's heated up and come to room temperature, do you feel any different about it, or is it
No.
worse?
You
Is it
remember
better
when you were
cold?
talking about earlier how like you can trick the body into accepting poison? This, when I drink
It's
it,
not
my
poison.
body
You accept
wants
it-
to throw up.
You trick it into
My
accepting
body wants
alcohol
to
as
throw
food
up.
and poison.
Yeah, it's basically like when I drink tequila, it's a much more forceful reaction. When I drink a shot of tequila or any bit of tequila, my body immediately wants to return it to the earth where it came from. This, my body is really wanting to return it to the earth where it came from, but it's not so violent. Like I can force it to go down.
You're feeling all right though? Feel good?
Ish.
What would you describe the flavor like?
Like if I were cleaning my kitchen and I used a wet rag that had been soaking in dishwater for a while and then I drank that dishwater.
That is, wow. I don't get that at all. I'm just gonna take another sip and I'm gonna give you my honest opinion. Most sake I've had has been more acidic on the top end and
This tastes
burned like a
acidic to
straight
me.
alcohol. This has
I
been
feel that here.
This has been more pleasant to drink like a regular wine for me. I've enjoyed it. Immensely.
good.
Yeah, I'm going to say we're mixed on this one.
Yeah, we're mixed. But I mean, I've not really enjoyed sake in general
In the past.
I do like a
surprised you
plum
bought
wine,
Yeah.
but that's not white.
Well, we're divided, guys, on the Gekkeikan Sake, and that's going to do it for this episode of The Exciting Whites. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Let us know what you think in the comments about everything we've talked about. Are we being first world problems and ridiculous about lights being jettisoned into the room in the middle of the night in a frosty midwinter's December and January?
Or do you like to grill in the middle of winter?
Yeah, some people work third shift. What do you think about the 1950s? What do you think about inflation, and what do you think about where we are now? Let us know what your thoughts are about things you've experienced in the past. And especially, what have you found in your food and food-related incidents?
Oh, yeah. Please tell
the
us if
past.
you
We'd love
found
to
some
know that.
teeth or cockroaches or boogers or anything in your food. Tell us about it.
Tell us how shitty your friends have been. Are they late? Do they show up? Do they cancel on you all the time? Are they there
Are
all the
you the
time?
canceller?
Are all your friends the best friends that have ever been and they never cancel on you ever? We'd like to hear your thoughts on that. And of
We
course,
wanna know.
tell us about boogers.
Yeah.
And any wine that you would love for us to drink on the show, recommend it. We would love to pick up a bottle
Drop
and try
it in the comments.
Right? Anything else?
I don't think so.
I think that's it. Guys, thank you so much. We're the Exciting Ones. Take care.